but pull out your wallets. How would you like to know for certain that you will never encounter another criminal or be the victim of any crime? How about knowing that no matter where you go, who you are, that you and everybody else has a purpose, will be employed, and their lives will have meaning? Would you like to have an extra $1,100 a year to spend on whatever you want? Well, me too. Hi, my name is Rita Hotchkiss, and I am advocating to release everybody from prison, jail, and dissolve the penal system. My first main point is detainment and incarceration. It's actually a big business. That's right. It used to be public, and our dollars would publicly fund a public program. But about 10 years ago, we privatized. So we are actually making people rich by incarcerating others. That means the tax dollars that we think are going towards the correction system are actually not going to correct any behavior. They're just going to detain you, a loved one, or even somebody who committed a crime against you. There's no education reform to help that situation not happen again at all. Point number 2, we're spending money not to get things done. I repeat, we're spending money to not get things done. You pay to house more and more people every year. You're paying to be able to hold them for longer. And yet that money that you're already paying into taxes could be diverted to things like fixing the potholes in the streets or increasing the access to education that children have. How about making special programs available to more people? Things like mental health, substance use counseling, or even paraeducation. My third point is locking people up just makes them better criminals. In fact, there have been studies shown that when you increase the amount of time somebody is incarcerated and when you decrease the age of initial incarceration, they use it inadvertently. It's a passive thing, right? It's not like it's on purpose, as their means of education. So if you lock somebody up who, let's say, stole bread to feed their families, or was caught taking something that didn't belong to them, but they didn't necessarily know that it was stealing. And then you put them in the same system that's holding murderers, rapists, arsonists, grand larcenists, auto thieves. Now, those are the people who are surrounding them. That becomes their family unit, and that becomes who they learn from. So the petty thief gets out and can now do major crime. And without having an education to support him in any other way, or her for that matter, and having the deficit of having that charge appear on his background checks when he's applying for a job, oftentimes the choice is to turn back to crime. So, just to be clear, I do understand that there is an opposing point, okay? There has to be, right? Jails and institutions have to have a purpose. Well, they do. Choose a famous serial killer, any one of them, okay? Once you have that person in your mind, think, what would happen if we let that person out? Well, I've thought about that too. And the answer is actually ingenious, and it comes from the Norwegian area. What they did in Norway and in Sweden is anybody who got in trouble and who was sentenced to serve time, instead of having them go to a place that just held them, incarcerated them, they went to a place that would teach them and train them and give them the tools that they needed to re-enter society as a productive human being. Now, in Sweden and Norway, they're a little bit more directed in that approach because they will take a census of all the jobs that are out there, and then they'll also take a census of what the job needs are. So let's say they need 11 lawyers and they need 2 doctors and they need 4 garbage men. The person will be rehabilitated and will be placed in one of those positions based on their skills. I'm not necessarily advocating that we do something as poignant as that, but I'm absolutely advocating that we do something to better our situation and the situation of others. 3 main points: detainment and incarceration, big business, and we're not gaining. We are spending money to not get something. That's main point number 2. And main point number 3, locking people up just makes them better criminals. In conclusion, I would like to thank you for your time. I'd also like to ask you to do something for me. I'd like you to imagine your life in somebody else's shoes. Imagine yourself being locked up at an early age and being directed into a life of crime. I want you to take all those experiences and all of those boundaries, and I want you to imagine what it would be like to try and be 35 years old and re-enter a society that already doesn't believe that you're worth the same as another human being. I want you to sleep on that tonight. And then what I'd like you to do is I would like you to become engaged in your local system. I would like you to reach out to a jail or to a community center and see if you can make a difference in the lives of somebody who's been incarcerated. And with that, I thank you.